I'm glad to be here. If I'd known there was going to be so many troublemakers in the audience, I probably wouldn't have come. No, just kidding. Leslie, I thought you was going to move up here. I've worked with Leslie back when she worked for the city of Dyersburg, and I know several of y'all in here. My name is Carmen Cupples. I work for the city of Dyersburg. I'm going to talk to you about GIS and what GIS is. Some of you may know what it is, some of you may not. You may actually know what it is and just not realize it. But does anybody kind of want to guess what GIS stands for? Does anybody know? We'll take a guess at it. Leslie, you should know.
Geographic Information System.
That's it. Okay. Basically, so what is that? What is Geographic Information System? What is it? How many of y'all are familiar with Google Maps? So remember the days when you used to plan a trip and you used to have to break out the atlas or the Rand McNally map that you had folded up in your glove box? Well, we don't do that anymore because we all have GPS, we've got smartphones. All that is basically Geographic Information System. So what it basically does that a paper map doesn't, a paper map can only tell you what you can see. The GIS system is valuable because it stores data. So you may not actually see the data, and I'll show you some examples of that. But one example that you could use is if you were looking at a map and let's say you had all your streets in Dyersburg and you had your houses. Let's say you had all the fire hydrants listed. One thing that you couldn't do with a paper map is ask that map how many of these fire hydrants were flowed last year. Paper map's not going to do that. But the computer with the software has the ability to do that. You can query, ask it questions, that kind of thing. So I don't want to bore you with a whole lot of that, but I kind of want to give you a background on how the city of Dyersburg and Dyer County government agencies are using this system. To give you a brief history, back in 1998, the city of Dyersburg and Dyer County 911 issued a contract with an engineering company in Memphis to basically create a GIS system for us. And that would incorporate all the roads, all the addresses in Dyersburg and Dyer County. So we utilize this information at our 911 PSAPs, or the answer when you call 911. Whether it's, and at the time there was a 911 center in Dyersburg, there was a 911 center in Dyer County, and there was one in Newburgh. So there were actually, depending on where you lived and you picked up the phone and called, all three of those entities were using our mapping. We, the GIS department, assign all the 911 addresses in Dyersburg and Dyer County. Most people probably don't know that. That's a huge advantage for us because anytime someone comes in to build a house, what's the first thing they need?
Call Carmen.
What?
Call Carmen.
No. Well, what should they need? What do they know when they go to apply for that building permit?
They gotta have an address.
Well, they should. Not everybody realizes that. So the first thing we say is, hey, you gotta have your 911 address. So in the past, several years ago, you had entities who were assigning 911 addresses, and they would have to relay that information to us. Sometimes we wouldn't get it. So I believe from about 2005, maybe, we started assigning all the addresses, and we continue to do that. And that way, when we assign an address, it's updated instantly. So there's no going back and forth and getting the wrong address and that kind of thing. Let's see. And by the way, this is going to be real informal. Sometimes I get off on a tangent and go way this way when I should be going this way. Y'all have questions, stop me and ask me. Because a lot of this stuff, I'm assuming that you know or you don't know. I just noticed Miss Jackson right there. I've done some work for her at the fairgrounds. We did some drawings for you. So some of y'all are saturated in this a little bit. These are some of the departments which GIS is used by nearly every department in the city. As you can see, police, fire, 911, city administration, utilities. We have all of our water, sewer, gas, stormwater lines mapped. When we initially did this, so how do you think we gathered that information? So all we had was on paper maps. I'm going that way because I'm going from what we came here to talk about. We're talking about maps, especially old historical maps. So how do you think we captured all the fire hydrants and the manholes and the water valves and that kind of thing? Anybody have any idea how we did that? Surveyed it. We used GPS. And that was, well over 20, almost 25 years ago when we actually started doing it. Technology is everything to this system. Technology enables us to do things that we couldn't do 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, or better. So with GPS, we went out and we captured all these entities, whether it be a fire hydrant, water valve, whatever. All this system is within a 2-foot horizontal accuracy. So if you take your phone even today and you walk out and you try to use your GPS to capture a point, you're still not going to get 2 foot. So what we had to use was basically a mapping grade GPS to capture all these points and all this information.
Ground station.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And as a matter of fact, that's right. That's right. So that's called survey grade is what we use. We have monuments around town, and I forget the number, but basically what we do is we require anytime, let's say a new subdivision is built in Dyersburg, we require the surveyor to tie into our monuments, and instead of us having to redraw all that information, all the streets and the houses and all that, nowadays they just email it to us. And we pull it into our system, and it takes about 5 seconds. And it's done because they tie it into our system. Yes, sir?
Have they ever added elevation?
Yes, sir, to certain things. We sure do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like on a lot of our manholes, top of a sewer manhole, elevation is important for gravity flow. So we do have elevations for that, and that has to be really accurate. Yes, sir.
Maps, or our son did maps for Hagerman.
Okay.
Worked there for a year or two.
Okay.
It's pretty important to
Yes, sir.
elevation there. Part of that town's about 500 feet higher.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where all this information, and you compile that information, and then when you want to do things like topos or that type of thing, you have to have that information to be able to run a model on it. Let's see. Public Works, Planning and Zoning, and then of course the Public Access Portal, which we're going to see right now. Some of you may have already seen our online maps. You can go to that portal and you can search for an address. You can look to see who owns this property. You can see where the water lines are. We had a lot of requests for engineers who would call and ask us for fire hydrant flow. That's important when they're building a motel or a shopping mall or that kind of thing. They need to know the water pressure. We would always have to send them to the fire department, or they'd have to get it from somebody, and it, take a day or two. Nowadays, all you got to do is log in and click on the hydrant in the area, and it'll show you the latest test results. Fire department tests those hydrants each year, and we update that in our system as well. Y'all familiar with remember the old books that showed the human anatomy? Mm-hmm. Well, Leslie, I know you remember. If I remember, you remember, right?
Right.
So, what were those little transparent pages that you flip back and forth? That kind of showed the muscular system and the skeletal system and all, the different organs and the things. That's the way the GIS is. We have layers of information. So your street layers, that's going to be one layer. All the 911 addresses, one layer. Building footprints, that's another layer. So all these are layers that can be turned on and off. You can set them to automatically as you scale in or out, or you can manually turn them on and off, and we'll touch base with that here in a second. I don't know how well you can see that. It's kind of dark, but that's just a screenshot of what we're gonna see here. This, these are the layers that I was talking about. This is the actual online, this is the property mapping that you can access online. Here's showing the Dyersburg city limits. Here are some of the layers of the GIS data. I don't know if you can read that too well. That's addresses, building footprints, parcel data, zoning information. And you notice the little box is checked. So you can check or uncheck the box to actually see these layers of information. Now, as we're talking about the layers, so there's really three different groups of layer types. So you've either got points of information, you've got lines of information, or you got polygons. Polygons could be like lakes or streams, could be parcel information. Your points could be like address points. And of course the lines would be like your street center lines. There's also imagery. Be back at one real quick. So if you see the background, of course that's aerial imagery. That was taken from an airplane. Back when we first got started, this is a copy of a tax map here in Dyersburg. There's the post office kind of toward the center there. Back before we had the parcel information is the only data set that we do not maintain. We get that from the county, from the courthouse. They didn't come on board until, I want to say around 2010 or so. But anyway, that was the only layer of information that we were missing. And as you can imagine, parcel information is very important. That's important to everybody. So what we had to do is we had to take, anyone seen the tax map? You know what I'm talking about? The map books? Mm-hmm. So what they do, what the state does is they take like the city and they put us in a grid. And each grid has its own map. I think this is maybe 99B is what they call it. So all of these maps we had on paper, we had to scan them and then bring them into our system just so we could have a representation. Now, again, you couldn't click on it to find out any information, but it was kind of as a reference. So scanning, nowadays, not really a big deal. Most people scan. Back in the day, how do you scan a map that's this big? Back in 2000. They almost didn't have anything to scan that. Well, they do. Now they're called a large format scanner. You've probably seen them. I meant to bring a picture and I didn't. Matter of fact, Danny, I think we've got the old one back here somewhere that we used to use.
On the back wall.
That's right. Okay. That was one of our old ones. But it basically scans it by rolling it in. There's rollers, kind of like a printer, but it will roll it in and scan it at the same time. Anybody imagine what might be a potential danger with doing that?
Destroy the map.
That's right. That's right. Now, if it's a tax map and we've got hundreds of copies, not a big deal. When Danny introduced me to some of these old maps, I was thinking, well, we've got a wide format scanner. I said, we can run that through there. And I got to thinking, how many copies you got of that, Danny? He said, one. I said, I don't know about that. Because, again, that's your only copy. How do you get that information scanned in? Even if it's on a smaller scale, it's better to use a copy to scan. Nowadays, with everybody's got a phone, smartphone, these probably do a better job than the scanner did, 5-10 years ago. We can also use still photos. If you can get a good picture, we can use that too. So there has to be a way of bringing these maps in order to be able to geo-reference and show them where they actually are. Anyway, that's just kind of a side note on that. We do get the parcel data. We get an update usually once a month from them. So we don't have to go this route anymore, thank goodness. And as you can imagine, if anything changed, you had a new neighborhood come in, got to scan another map to replace that one. So technology is key. Yeah. The digital world has made things so much easier, especially with this system here. Anybody recognize that?
Play-Doh.
Silly putty.
Oh, silicone.
Silly putty. I remember taking the silly putty and rolling it on the newspaper, and then, you know, it copies the image that's on the newspaper.
Right.
And then you can kind of stretch it. That's what I had to do with Mr. Darrell's map. We call it rubber sheet, but that's essentially what it reminds me of. So what you have to do, and I've got you can pass this around if you want. This is a copy of the map that I scanned that I'll show here in a minute. This is the land grant map, 1909. And yes, it's a copy. That's what I used. It's a copy. But what you have to do is when you scan it in, since it's just a paper image, it doesn't know where it's supposed to be because there's no coordinates tied to it. So what you have to do in a perfect world would be grab all four corners and you reference a point on the map or the image where it actually should go in the system. If you have four good corners, it's seamless. It'll bring it in every time. That one was a little tough because of the south border. It was hard to recognize certain things, so I just kind of had to play with it to try to bring it in. Yes, sir.
If you've got a series of photos, can you stitch it together like some programs
Should be able
do?
to.
So that way you won't have to
Absolutely.
take it. I've also seen where, you know, people use like backdrops, but they put a camera on the thing and take pictures below it.
Danny and I have talked about somehow mounting something up to be able to take a picture of a map that's too delicate to run through a
Right.
scanner, that type thing.
See, the archives, we've got tons of old maps, and that's
Right.
we want them copied.
Everybody's got old maps, if they'll look hard enough. There's old historical information everywhere that we need to try to be preserving and bringing in.
Right.
Just you know, and once we do this, then we actually have a copy of that map, and it's actually geo-referenced. Let's see. Okay, that's actually a bigger copy of that map. When I scanned that, Danny, I don't remember exactly how this happened, but we were talking about doing this, and then Mr. Darrell got wind of it, and he came down and he said, "Is there any way you can show me the boundaries of, was it Summer
Hill Edition.
Summer Hill Edition?" And I think we talked about coordinates and that kind of thing, and I said, yeah, we should be able to do that. I said, the main thing is I got to get a copy of that map. And we did, and I think it was that copy. And I was able to scan it, brought it in, played with it for a little bit. Now, it's not perfect, but let me get over here, and I'm going to log into our online site.
And that map that you got up there right now is basically a copy of the one that we got from the Dyer Land and Title Company downtown. They've had them on their conference room wall for years, and I always wanted a copy, so Bill got with Dan Birch to go get it. And I think they took it to RFW, is that where y'all went?
Right.
And did some manipulating with it, and Dan did some digital imaging with it and rebuilt it, put it back together. But that copy right there is on the wall out in the hallway. So the original's not out there, but you can read it. I mean, it's kind of difficult, but if you're interested in original land grant from Dyer County, we have it out there on display.
That's the original over there, though, Dan.
That's the original over there. If you want to touch it.
The table.
Yes, sir.
Well, this map right here, can you put the range and section lines overlaid on that?
Like the,
They originally started out, you know, they had surveyor districts when the West Tennessee was opened up, and then they had a range and a section
would
line.
that be another map?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
lay it on top of it.
the top of Dyer County is one of the lines,
Okay.
for example, and the side of Dyer County and Gibson County is another one.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
I mean, of course, Dyer County used to run down at the Lauderdale and Crockett too. But,
That's right. That's
but
right.
yeah, that could be done, I would
Yeah,
think.
I mean, if it's a map, even similar to that, I mean, I know we did one several years ago of all the historical schools in Dyer County around the 30s, was it maybe?
35, 36.
Yeah. I mean, even that map you could lay on top of this Might have to clean it up
Yeah.
some, but, so there again, about the layers,
You can just keep on
'Cause-
overlaying.
absolutely.
Because a lot of these deeds, they mention arranging the section lines in
That's
there
right.
to help, get them to where you need them. I've also done all the civil districts in Dyer County and brought all the historical things on there, and I based it on a 1930s
Okay.
large map of Dyer County.
Okay,
So
yeah.
that could be put on there too.
Yeah, anything that we can get a copy of and get it in a digital format, yeah.
I've got a cleaner version of that map. Took it over there just a few minutes ago off the original.
Okay,
Anybody that would like to have it, send me an email and I'll
okay,
share it.
perfect,
bill.ables@gmail.
okay, perfect. I think this is working now, so let's.
Perfect, Bill.
I think what Carmen's gonna show you is work with Daryl. You took this map and put it on the city webpage and you can see there's a button that says Dyer County Historical Society is an overlay. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
So, again, here's our layers, and there's not much here, just significantly wanted to show the image.
Yeah.
Of course, what's in red is the Dyer County boundaries. I've got it zoomed in a little too far. And then I've also got the Summer Hill boundary. What I did is I went into the Summer Hill subdivision
Right.
and basically made a polygon area. And let me just zoom into that. I think I've got this a little more. Now, you can tell, zoomed in a little bit, of course, you can see the roads. The image behind it is not real clear, just because of what we had to work with.
Right.
Of course, a map that old, it's hard, you got a lot of blots and that kind of thing. But as I zoom out, and y'all feel free to go and look at this. Go to maps.dyersburg10.gov. It'll take you right to the map portal.
Would you repeat that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Maps, M-A-P-S, Dyersburg, T-N, like Tennessee, .gov.
Can we pick and choose the map legend the same way you are?
Yes, ma'am. You can do everything I'm doing.
Can we see that old map below that?
Or you take the roads off, you can.
I take the roads up. Yeah, this is where the layer component comes in handy, because you can turn layers on and off like that.
So how do you have that map labeled?
The-
Original land grant map?
Yes, ma'am. The one at the bottom. Yeah, if I turn that off, it disappears.
So by doing so, Daryl, you were able to know who the
That's
original
exactly right.
landowner,
You
who
see,
the.
you see the blue area? That's Summer Hill
Summer
Moody
Hill.
subdivision, sitting right in the Campbell McIver grant of 2,267 acres. That'll let me know exactly,
Yeah.
And as you can
contact
tell,
Tennessee Archive and get a copy of the grant of the property there, my property. And anybody can do it.
That's
But
right.
If you're at Boo's Point on a certain area, you know exactly where your beginning of your property came from. After we started issuing grants.
looking at that old map, with the layers turned off, with roads turned off, and I mean, I don't know where that's at. I can't tell any distinguishable, there's no streets or any landmarks, so just looking at that map, it was just guessing kind of as to where
Yeah,
Summer
we
Hill
thought it
was.
had
isn't
been
it?
McCullough for a long time, right to the left of that.
Yes, sir.
Many people thought it was.
You could follow the river meander sometimes and tell
That's
where
right.
things were.
That's right. And I did use that in the rubber sheeting process, because you could tell where the river went. It just kind of washed out in the south part of it,
Right.
made it kind of hard.
You know, your first project on this was using the coordinates. But it's 69 miles between a 36 and a 37 latitude.
That's right.
That's not definitive enough.
That's right.
So you say, hey,
And
I'll
you
work-
can still do it, and it
and it's still there.
that's
really.
right. So when you put too much, where you run into the layers where they come in handy is, anytime you print a map, you got to be able to read it.
Yeah.
So if you print a map and all that information's on there, it just looks like garbage. So you have to get it at the right scale with the right layers, and like the coordinates we could have probably, if I zoomed in to just the Summer Hill and do the coordinates, we could get them a lot tighter. You would be able to see.
There are a lot of little tick marks though.
The tick, that's right.
And you can see at the bottom, kind of in the middle, where downtown Dyersburg is, through
That's
the
right.
MacGyver
That's right.
grant.
Carmen,
Yes, ma'am.
so you aren't the only county that's doing this, right? There are other people, other counties.
Other counties?
in the state.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, pretty much every county in Tennessee, because we're part of the state-based mapping programs. We share our information, we share our data, and it's essentially for 911. In case there were a big disaster and multiple agencies had to go different places, we can share that information on addresses and streets and that 911 information. But yes, so this is more popular today than it ever has been. When GIS started, it was only for larger cities and counties because they were the only ones that could afford it. You're talking in the 60s, early 70s. It didn't get real popular until probably the 80s. But then computers, they weren't able to handle all this. You had to have gigantic computers to be able to run this type of analysis and this type of, the video, the graphics, all that. So again, technology has played a key role in that. It's what's made it affordable for all the cities and counties around us.
Since you have these maps, have you figured out now that if we have another major earthquake, we can get out of the county?
The main thing is don't be in the county.
Look,
Don't be here when it happens.
yeah. There's a map that shows where all the earthquake happens during the year, about 100.
That's
And
right.
they're all, it's just dark
Just a
red in a
stream.
certain area.
That's right.
Yeah. Basically from
Put the
Lanes
roads
Ferry
back
to
up there.
Put the
Tyler.
roads back,
Yeah,
sure.
see, he gonna click on one of those squares over on the right-hand side.
So all you
and that's
gotta do
gonna show
is
roads.
just a little check box. You just check it to turn it on, or check it to turn it on.
Now, that's how you can see exactly where your street is, and then behind that, you'll be able to find what that grant, from that large map with that little one going around, what grant yours is. I mean, that long line at the top, that's pretty much Shelby Drive, the north part of the subdivision. And then it goes straight down by the community center and comes back across the bottom as Phillips. And then back up on the left side as St. John. And, St. John's a little bit, and then also back over on Sampson. I mean, that's amazing for research, what Carmen has done.
Y'all just talk. You ain't gotta raise your hand.
I got a question.
Do you ever have a situation where you're doing the overlays, and say you pull an old, somebody gives you a new map, and you lay it out and you go, uh-oh. You find that something that's been known fact for years is not true. In other words, what somebody's property may not be theirs. Does that ever end up in court?
Probably so. There again, the parcel data, we don't maintain that. Property assessor does that, but people have come to us and said, hey, I need to know exactly where my property line is. We tell them the same thing every time. Call a surveyor.
Yeah.
Because legally, that's the only way. I can get a pretty good estimate on where it's at, but if I'm off and they're putting up a fence and they end up putting it on their neighbor's side, then that could be a problem. I'll tell you where we have used it a lot. I have been called to I guess, serve as I'm not sure exactly what you call it, but when the police department, when they arrest someone for selling drugs in what they call a public area, like a school or a park, and I think it's 1,000 feet. If they're caught within 1,000 feet of that, I believe it's a felony, or then they're looking at felony charges. I have to go in to testify as to the accuracy of the map because the police department use our map to figure out how many feet it is and if it's within 1,000 feet. Now, we told them because of the property lines being questionable, they could be off here or there. We will measure from building to building. So if they're caught in this house over here, they'll measure from the corner of that house over to this school. And if that's within 1,000 feet, then those charges are brought up against them. And I've had to do that several times, but
The other zoning map is a layer.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, it's on my other map. Mhm.
Could,
LiDAR in use?
that was my question.
We didn't use LiDAR, but LiDAR was not as popular at the time. It was expensive, but LiDAR, yes, many people use LiDAR now.
DVA.
Yeah.
As a transmission line.
That's right. Drone photography is becoming more and more popular, where you can video and use drones to get your aerial photography. That's becoming more and more popular. That's actually integrated with GIS as well. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my question has to do with history. And with you in your position, so you have, I guess, there's other people like you in the state, in
Yes,
every
ma'am.
county. How many of the counties in the state of Tennessee are doing these overlaps on the old maps like you've done?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
So it's nothing that has been
No.
on anybody's radar?
I mean, not that I'm aware of, doesn't mean they're not doing it. I just realized, because I'm kind of a history buff myself, especially local history. And I've talked with Danny for years, and I'm ashamed to say this is the first meeting I've come to. I know Leslie's already gotten on to me. But I feel like there's probably maybe other people doing it. I just recognize that this is just another application that we can use GIS for.
I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Is there any way to incorporate Google Earth into that?
Well, we can actually share, so like my layers are called shape files in this software. And I can actually export them and import them into Google Earth.
With Google Earth's history views, that would be perfect. Go back and look 20 years ago at what.
That's right. I've delved in that just a little bit. But yeah, that historical imagery from Google is really, really nice. Yes, ma'am.
If we have an old map of, say, Hickman County in Middle Tennessee, can we bring that map, can we take that map to somebody in Hickman County and get them to do it? Or can we bring that to you and can you use their maps?
If we had Hickman's data, which a lot of data is free, like through the U.S. Census, different places like that, it just may not be up to date.
Okay, but so the counties don't have, each county doesn't have aren't using the same thing?
I don't know that for sure. I don't know. I know in Tennessee, all the assessors' offices use GIS because that's how they all do their updates in GIS. What happened? Leslie?
Blue screened it.
Well, I was done anyway. Oh, it just went to sleep, I think.
I think.
But that is
Shel-
a good question. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I see all the places it's saying Dyer County land grant and all, but this is just the city. Can I go to this side and see the county?
Yeah. Yeah, it's countywide. I just
Okay.
zoomed into this for the Summer Hill subdivision. Yes, absolutely.
And you just get to it the same direct?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me show you another application. I did this map basically just for the Historical Society. If you go to that portal at maps.dyersburg.tn.gov, there are several different online mapping applications. One's for a property, like a property viewer. One is for utilities that will show all of our utilities, locations on that kind of thing. Let's see if I can. Well, that's what the portal looks like. These are the ones that are open to the public.
Have you got civil districts on there too?
I can't remember civil districts. I may have that. I don't think I have it online, but I believe I had that once upon a time anyway.
Okay.
We just don't use it
Right.
a lot in our day-to-day. Now, the assessor's office probably does.
Right.
That'd be a good one to add, because when you're looking at census records,
Absolutely.
that's where you find out where they live.
That's right.
Of course, they changed over the
Yes,
years.
But if you had a map from each year, of course, I mean, how would you even know? if
I mean,
they
it started in 1836, so there weren't civil districts before 36. But after 1836, there were civil districts, but they morphed and changed over the years.
And I'm saying they probably don't have a whole lot of maps from every time it changed.
No, but I pretty much know, I've got a list of every change that took place that I found.
Leslie, there's all the roads in Dyer County, so that's countywide.
That's great.
And in this particular one, you can actually go up here where it says search, search for an address, you can search for a person's last name, and it'll, if I have data on it, it will hit a record and you can select it.
I think that LiDAR, you can subscribe to a LiDAR thing that would cover whatever area you want.
Right.
But it's not cheap, I don't know.
No, it's like everything else.
Yeah.
10 years from now, it'll be affordable.
Yeah, build Google Maps.
That's right. That's right.
Shelby and Davidson have their own, don't they? They're separate. When you go, you can't go to this and,
No, it can't go to ours, so usually each county kind of has their, and a lot of it, especially in these larger
like
counties.
Tennessee Property Assessor, you can go do that. But
That's
I
right.
think Shelby and Davidson, they're
The bigger,
separate.
the bigger the county, they usually kind of have their own mapping site. Well, a lot of these places do. They
Don't you
probably have for years.
Don't you have to actually pay to see theirs?
I haven't looked at theirs in quite a while. I don't know. Not sure. That's really kind of all I've got unless anybody has. Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask